This is like, instead of acknowledging, we've got fucking real problems. People are moving for the first time ever more than they're coming here.
Right.
We're losing all these giant corporations that are leaving. Instead of that, it's just this, we're the shit. No one's, that doesn't matter. I'm very big on California. I'm bullish on California.
Right.
It's always going to be amazing here.
Well, it's what every empire said until they fell.
Yeah.
Right? Like, we are the thing.
But people don't want to ever believe that things can fall. It's so weird. We'll walk right through the Coliseum and go, well, this can never happen again.
Right. When we landed in L.A., I looked to the right, and that warehouse was on fire with 85 billion or 85 million tons of chemicals in a warehouse that was on fire. It was like a multi-day blaze. And you're landing, and you're looking out the window, and you're just seeing the warehouse on fire. And then there was a car fire on the 405. Like, I sold my house, I have an apartment there now, but like, as I was going to my apartment, there was a car on fire. And as I was landing, the warehouse was on fire. And you start thinking to yourself, somebody doesn't want us here. Like, somebody wants us out. Like, it almost feels like we're being evicted by nature.
By nature? Interesting.
Well, by
Maybe
nature,
human nature.
By bad decisions, by everything.
Which is nature.
Yeah.
Human nature is nature. Right. And the stupidity of humans it's no different than the stupidity of animals when they go extinct.
Do you think it comes back? Any shot? Any chance?
Something has to happen.
Right.
Something big has to happen. I mean, there has to be something that completely shifts the way LA looks at itself. It has to look at itself as like a functioning business instead of a giant scam for nonprofits.
Right.
Because a big part of LA's problem is there's a bunch of people that are in the empathy industry.
Yeah.
And they're in the, we're working for this and we're working for that. And a giant chunk of their money is going to that kind of shit.
I did a great show at Oceans in Atlantic City, which is a casino there. And the owner of that casino was talking to me. And I said, what would fix Atlantic City? Because Atlantic City has some similar problems to LA, but vastly worse.
Yeah, way worse.
And he was telling me, he goes, we have just a high amount of people and a lot of social programs in one area. So you have a lot of people that are not, for whatever reason, productive, and they are living in one area, and everything that comes along with that, which is crime, which is, vandalism, which is, disorder to varying degrees. And he goes, you need to get rid of that in order to have a climate where businesses can thrive.
100%.
Which is what happened in New York in the 90s. People hate it. They don't want to admit it. But what happened in New York in the 90s was like they did clean up a lot of the crime, and a lot of businesses then felt better about investing.
100%. But that's what Giuliani did.
That's what he did, yeah.
And he's demonized.
He's demonized. He's demonized. He hasn't... He's one of those guys where if he had just done that and died, his legacy would have been amazing. Right. But he's hung around for a while, and he's kind of gone into some interesting tangents. So it's one of those scenarios where it's like, had he just cleaned up New York City and then left public life, it would have been like that guy.
Right.
But he hung around a little bit and, got involved.
They always have to hang around.
They always hang around.
It's like you're going to do shows. You're always going to do stand-up.
That's right.
You're always going to do shows.
But he did such a good thing, and then it was like, just exit.
Who's also, he was easy to make fun of, like the time where he was sweating and his dye.
Well, that's what I mean.
You know what I mean?
He's melting. Yeah. He's doing a press conference in a parking lot.
Don't dye your hair.
Yeah,
You're 100 years old. It's okay to have gray hair. It's just these guys, there's so much silliness on both sides. There's silliness on the left and silliness on the right. There's goofy people because the only kind of people that want that kind of position of power are a little goofy.
Right.
You don't get the best and the brightest and the most enlightened that want to be the mayor of New York City. It's not the job.
You get a lot of people that want power and they want influence, and they, and I think a lot of that, the AI stuff, which is very interesting, is starting to, I think it might, I don't know how quickly it will do this, but I do think it's going to lessen some of the cultural divides, and I think it's going to potentially unite people, because I think it's going to be, the next fight seems to be about surveillance, privacy, your own rights, what rights you'll have. Like, I feel like that will be, it might take precedent. Instead of like these cultural fights that people have been having for a while, it might be like people might be demanding autonomy, from artificial intelligence.
The problem is going to be if you can't demand, if you don't have a voice anymore. And this is the potential nightmare scenario that we're seeing play out slowly in England. So
Right.
in England, their freedom of speech has been suppressed to an alarming point where people are not freaking out nearly enough about it. The amount of arrests that people get over there for fucking retweets and likes. Retweets and likes.
That's so crazy to me that you could get arrested for liking a tweet.
Arrested.
Not even retweeting, because we all know if you like, you're a piece of shit. You should retweet. We all know that. Retweet it.
Right.
So, and if you're going to go to jail, you might as well retweet it anyway. If you're going to get locked up,
What if you
just
get extra
retweet
years
it.
for a retweet versus a like?
I'm sure. Your Honor, my client just liked this. They were confused. They hit a button.
So as soon as you have people that feel like the reality of the world they live in is not being represented, and they're not allowed to complain about it online, because if they complain about it online, they get arrested.
Right.
So right now it's for immigration primarily. This is the big
Right.
one. But that could change. That could change.
Well, it does seem to be that they feel that there was a decision made by somebody that the public can only discuss issues in a very rigid way. They can only offer if not everyone who's talking about immigration is doing it in the most articulate way, but it's their right to do it. It's their country. They should be able to say, I'm worried about increased levels of immigration, and they should be able to say that in an ineloquent way, right?
Right. So
what they're doing now is they're policing certain words and I think certain ways of speaking, and they're calling a lot of things an incitement to violence. Now, some things clearly are an incitement to violence, but the internet, people speak in a colorful way. People talk using irony. Some people are trying to be funny. Some people are. So I think the way that they're doing it over there is they're basically looking at these statements and going, this person is inciting violence and threatening the public good by
Right.
what they're saying.
Right. And then there's also people were getting arrested for saying that they were rape gangs.
And there were.
And there were.
There were.
And so this new report, who released this new report that said 250,000 people? It says UK scraps police probes of legal social media posts after review says response went too far. So this is April 1st, 2026. But I just saw a thing about a guy getting arrested like a few days ago.
And we have rape gangs here, but ours are more successful.
I think that's a legal social media posts is which weird. So legal social media posts.
Right.
Their law is different than our law. They don't have freedom of speech over there. So
Right.
incitement to violence is a violation of their law.
Right.
So when it says legal, it could just be they went too far for things like cartoons or something like that. That's
Right.
not clearly not an incitement to violence. But would it find out, Jamie, what that report was about the rape gangs?
I was just there for 21 days. I was in London. I went to Paris for a couple of days, but I was in London primarily for 21 days. And you talk to different groups of people, and London's a global city. It's a cosmopolitan city. It's like New York. And, I think one of the things that, they're used to diversity there. And so they're not full on panicked about different types of people coming in. But there is undeniably a real problem outside of London, also in London, but outside of London because a lot of the economy is stagnated. So you're bringing people in. It's not clear immediately what jobs they'll do. And a lot of their cultures vary greatly from the English culture in a meaningful way. And that could be the rights of women. That could be the rights of gay people. That could be the opinions about freedom of speech. That could be freedom of religion, whatever it is. There is a cultural tension there between immigrants, migrants coming in, and the very established society that's been around for a very long time.
This episode is brought to you by The Farmer's Dog. Here's a fun fact.